Hey ladies, welcome back to my channel. It's your host London Lamborghini, and in today's video we are going to be demystifying the world of working in contracts. Thanks to Kai Abdul, we have a fantastic TikTok compilation video for you today. Personally, both of my parents have always been contractors. Both of my parents have never had any full-time positions with all the benefits and stuff like that because they have always wanted more money and they have always liked the flexibility as well. So both of my parents have actually been contractors my whole life growing up. So I'm very familiar with the erratic nature of having a contract job. So I am aware of the risks that come with going from contract to contract. I am quite comfortable and familiar with the seasonality of it. So without talking too much, let's get into the video.
So I work from home and I'm literally the happiest I've ever been in my entire adult life. And honestly, the biggest tip from TikTok that helped me get my remote job is doing contract work. I would say look for contract roles where you can transfer skills you already have into that role. So I was doing proposal coordination for a construction firm, and then I applied for contract roles doing proposal coordination for tech companies. It's the same kind of job, but a different industry, and I feel like they're not as picky with you not having tech experience because it is contract, which means you only work there for a certain amount of months, and if they like you, they put you on full time, and if they don't like you, then the contract ends. So I feel like they're more open.
Contract jobs are honestly the best thing in the world, and I'm going to tell you why. If you're working as a senior manager in regulatory affairs as a full-time employee, they'll probably only pay you $130,000 to $145,000 a year. If you're a contractor, they'll pay you like $220,000 a year. For certain contracting companies, if you opt not to do a C2C, they'll also give you benefits. You also don't really have a manager, you kind of just report to yourself. Yes, you report to your client, but what's great about it is if you don't like your client, you just pull from the contract and continue working the other contract you had and then supplement the contract you lost by finding another one. I feel like it's the perfect win-win if like you really hate the office politics in corporate America where you're able to make crazy money and still remain in your industry. The one downside is the fact that the client can terminate the contract whenever they want. But the way you resolve that is by working multiple contracts at a time. So if one company decides to terminate your contract, you're never without income. I don't know, it's something I've been thinking about a lot. If I don't need health insurance, I'm not buying a house or making some sort of major life decision, I will normally go for contract work over full-time employees. So let me explain. Full-time employees get better benefits, whether that's health insurance, stock plans, or bonuses. But contract workers get more on their hourly rate. And there's two types of ways you can be a contractor. You can be a contractor as a W-2 employee working for the contracting company who sources you to their client, or you can do a corp-to-corp contract where that contracting company pays you the flat rate that they offer, all of it. And you, as the corporation, are responsible for paying all your taxes, but you're able to write off stuff like a portion of your rent, depending on what square footage is used. You're able to subtract that, write that off, your Wi-Fi, your cell phone bill, all types of other stuff. You also are responsible for paying for your own health insurance. In the past, when I've worked contract jobs, it's just been a lot more peaceful, in my opinion. I don't have to go to like town halls. I don't have to get too involved in office politics. I'm really just there to do my job. And they generally don't like you working overtime because they have to pay you overtime. So whenever I'm in a headspace where it's like, I really just want to do my job and go home, I don't want to really be too involved, I always opt for contracts. But in previous parts of my career, when I was really looking for good relationships, I was trying to find mentors, I was trying to learn from other people, I wanted to grow, I wanted to engage in conversations, I wanted to be a part of the organization, I opted for full-time employment. Or when I needed something like, I don't know, a jaw surgery, I opted for full-time employment. There truly is no right or wrong option. It generally just depends on what point in your career that you're in. One of the very first jobs I ever had was actually a contract job, and I took it because it was the easiest way for me to break into my industry. But at that time in my career, I really didn't love being a contractor because I wasn't as involved with the rest of the company. For the next few years, I took full-time employment roles because I wanted to, like I said, grow and learn and just be a part of the organization. After getting tired of that, I went back to contract work until I needed to have surgery, where I went back to full-time employment. Now that I'm in a really stable place in my career, I want to go back to contract work because it's just peace of mind. But as I've mentioned before, the economy isn't the most stable, so I'm very open to taking a full-time job at this time. Oh, and something else that I really want to say, because a lot of people are like, oh, but as a contractor, you don't get all these bonuses that these companies give you. I personally haven't had the best experiences with like stock plans that I've been given by previous companies. So it's not something that really gets my mouth watering or tantalizes my spirit. Because depending on what they give you, sometimes you don't even end up getting everything that you thought you were gonna get when you first signed with that company. I'd rather make more and use that money to invest in what I want to invest in. The benefits for contract jobs kind of suck. So I agree with what everyone's saying in the comments. But I always think you should take a contract job for two reasons. One, the economy's not that great. It's really hard to find work, but there's a plethora of contract opportunities, so you take it. Two, to advance in your career. It's really hard to break into your industry, but they will offer you the contract job because they're a little bit more loose with the requirements compared to a full-time position. And I guess the third reason would be my reasoning behind working contract opportunities is the fact that you get to work for yourself. Now there's two types of contracts. There's W-2 and there's 1099. W-2 is like any other job you've had. It's a contracting company that will do your benefits for you. They'll give you a 401k. The benefits might suck, right? And you're not going to get equity, but you get benefits. They also payroll for you, so you don't have to worry about taxes. And then there's 1099 where you're responsible for your own taxes, but you also don't have to. If you get 1099 and you also have an LLC, you can set up a payroll system for yourself so that you're payrolling yourself and you don't have to worry or think about taxes. You're also W-2ing yourself. That's what I mean when I say you're payrolling yourself. That is currently what I do so that I don't set myself up for failure when it comes time to do my taxes. I've worked plenty of contracts in my life. W-2, 1099, all of it. And at the start of my career, I really hated being a contractor because I felt like I was a second-class citizen at the companies I was working for. I wasn't included in any of the team rapport. I was literally just a person hired to just do work and just not be involved. Now that I'm at a later stage in my career, I really appreciate contract work because I don't want any of those things. I just want to be hired to do my job. Is contract work unstable? Yes. I worked a contract last year. They said it was going to be for 12 months. It ended up only being for 3 months because, I don't know, for some reason they just didn't do their budgets right, whatever, so they cut all the contractors. There's a level of unpredictability with it. But I think if you're struggling to find work and you are seriously in need of money, taking a contract work for the time being is something that you should do.
Number two, there's a new trend. It's called quiet hiring.
I talk a lot about being a contractor on my page, and the job I currently have is a contract. I work 40 to 50 hours a week. I have completely different reasons for wanting to be a contractor, but I've been telling people who are struggling to find a job, whether you're a new grad or you have 10 years of experience, to look into contract work. Everybody's always afraid of contract work because they feel like they don't get as great of benefits. But at the end of the day, you make more money. And if you do the contract through your own S Corp or C Corp, you can give yourself 401k, vacation time, and all the other benefits. The reason why I'm such a supporter of contract work is for the exact reason this creator is talking about with this new trend, quiet hiring, which it's really not a new trend. This has been a phenomenon for years, decades, dare I say. Anyway, my current job has a position that's open, and they've been asking me as the contractor if I'm interested in becoming a full-time employee. I said, no, right now I'm good with being a contractor. And they're like, okay, we'll just leave it where it is. There's still a position that needs to get filled, but it's not going to get filled. Because at the end of the day, the work is getting done with the number of contractors that we have, and the economy is still in a tight situation. So like I said, maybe 3 months ago, companies are going to continue to reach for contractors before they hire full-time employees with all the razzle-dazzle benefits of like equity and stuff like that. Me personally, when I'm on LinkedIn, because even though I am employed, you always got to, just keep your eye out. I just hit the button contract and look at the contract jobs with the job titles I'm interested in. On my LinkedIn, I also have this open to work feature where I only hit contract. And what happens when I do that? Reputable recruiters reach out and say they have contract positions for 20 to 40 hours a week, 100% remote, at least 6 months in duration. And I get a bunch of these for all different type of job titles and pay ranges. Some of them I ignore because the job titles are a little too junior, but nonetheless, I get these all the time. And these are reputable recruitment companies that I've worked with before in the past. So yeah, just a little food for thought. Quiet hiring is not a new phenomenon. It's just companies hiring contractors or asking for referrals. And you are more likely to get a full-time employee position right now if you become a contractor and they convert you over. S Corp and C Corp is essentially just how the IRS taxes you. Now, I'm not a tax attorney and I'm not a CPA, so make sure you talk to a tax professional before you take any of this advice. Let's just say a company offers me $100 an hour, 40 hours a week, and it's a contract. They're either gonna tell me that I can do C2C or W2. C2C just stands for corp to corp. So their company gets the contract from the client, but they contract it to my corporation. So if I'm getting $100 an hour and I'm working 40 hours a week, that's about $192,000 a year if I work those hours, no holidays, nothing. Instead of that other company taking taxes out or doing anything, I am awarded the full contract amount for whatever hours I worked. So for the whole year, I would get $192,000. That money would go into my corporation's bank account. My corporation would have a payroll service. I personally use Gusto. With Gusto, you're able to do 401k, health insurance, and a bunch of different other benefits. There's even like cell phone plans. When you use that payroll service, you're able to add yourself or whatever employees to the system and give yourself a salary. You can give yourself the full awarded contract amount if you want, or a certain percentage. I never do the full amount. I do less than 50%. So then every 2 weeks, I get a paycheck from my corporation. The payroll service, Gusto in this instance, calculates how much taxes I would owe as a personal individual with the salary I have given myself through my corporation. That's basically the gist of it. Even though non-competes don't really matter in California. I like doing corp to corp because I truly do work for myself. So like whoever I got the contract through can't tell me that I can't take another contract. Like let's say I wanted to work another 10 hours for someone else, or one of my colleagues in my industry asked me to help write a document for like 2 hours a week. I don't have to get permission from anyone. I can do as I please, which is why I like to go the corp to corp contract route. Whether you're a contract worker or a full-time worker, it doesn't really matter. If a company wants to let you go, they will. Now, I understand that when you get fired from a full-time job, you get severance and you get to file for unemployment and things of that nature. I'm pretty sure if you're a contractor and you get fired, you still get to file for unemployment, but I'm not sure. You'll have to double check on that. No matter what your work situation is, there's always a possibility that you could lose your job. So as a contractor, there's a few things you need to do to prepare for those types of scenarios. Number one is keep your options open. When recruiters are reaching out to you on LinkedIn or via email, continue to respond to them, even if you're comfortable and happy with your current contract job. You never know if or when the company decides they no longer need their contractors or they no longer can afford their contractors, so it's best to be prepared. And again, this applies for people who work full-time as well. Number two, interview periodically. I did a video when I was in Turks and Caicos. I interviewed for a job. I'm happy with the job I have right now. I'm not looking for a new opportunity. Nonetheless, you never know, so it's important to be prepared. So I take interviews. Right now, I'm only interviewing for part-time opportunities so that if I actually got the job, I could afford to do it until my current contract runs out. But that's just how I do things. The third tip is I generally don't advise giving yourself the full contract amount just in case you do get let go from your contract out of nowhere. You'll have additional money to kind of hold yourself over until you're able to find a new contract opportunity. Now that's easy to say for contracts that have a higher awarded value. For contracts that have a lower awarded value, it may be a little bit more difficult because you may need all of that money to live. At the end of the day, everyone should assess their current situations and see whether or not a contract job works for you, doesn't work for you. But if you're struggling to find a job right now and you're unemployed, take the contract job seriously. Even if they hire you and they let you go in 3 months or 6 months, it doesn't matter. You have income coming in from that contract.
Thank you for staying until the end of the video. I appreciate each and every one of you, especially all the new subscribers. I love you so much. Thank you for joining this community, and we have such a long way to go, but I love each and every one of you. Those of you who know me have heard me say it before that I was completely against working a 9-to-5 for years, and I was dead set on becoming an entrepreneur and having my own business, which is still a great path to pursue. However, now I feel as though securing financial freedom through employment is the lowest barrier to entry way for me to achieve financial freedom. So on this job, what we are going to do is we are going to get 2 work from home jobs and we're going to cut our expenses as low as possible. If you can move back in with your parents, do so, because we are going to just cut up all our living expenses and stack as much bread as possible. So if you want to join us on the journey, hit that subscribe button. Let me know in the comments your thoughts about working contract instead of going full-time. And that's all for today. I will see you in the next video.